The sweat was already forming on Jamie Williams' palms as he stood in line outside the Palace of Auburn Hills, clutching his ticket to what would become the most significant night of his life. It was November 18th, 1992, and Michael Jackson's Dangerous World Tour had arrived in Detroit during one of the most challenging periods of the King of Pop's career. The allegations that would later consume media headlines were still months away, but tension was already building around Michael's increasingly reclusive public persona. Jamie was different from the screaming teenagers that made up most of Michael Jackson's audience. At 28 years old, he was a professional dancer who had spent the last decade teaching hip-hop and contemporary dance at inner-city community centers throughout Detroit. Born and raised in the Motor City during its economic decline, Jamie had witnessed firsthand how music and dance could provide hope and purpose to young people who had few other outlets for expression. His own journey with dance had begun at age 8 when he first saw Michael Jackson perform Billie Jean on Motown 25 in 1983. Like millions of children around the world, Jamie had attempted to moonwalk across his family's linoleum kitchen floor, but unlike most kids who quickly moved on to other interests, Jamie's fascination with Michael's movement vocabulary became an obsession that shaped his entire life path. Throughout high school and into his early 20s, Jamie studied every piece of Michael Jackson choreography he could find. He spent countless hours in front of mirrors, breaking down the precise mechanics of the anti-gravity lean, the perfect timing of the toe stand, and the fluid transitions that made Michael's dancing appear supernatural. But Jamie wasn't content to simply imitate. He developed his own style that incorporated Michael's techniques while adding his own urban contemporary flair. By 1992, Jamie had earned a reputation in Detroit's dance community as one of the most talented Michael Jackson-influenced choreographers in the Midwest. He had trained dozens of young dancers, many of whom had gone on to professional careers in music videos, touring companies, and even Broadway productions. But despite his success as an educator and choreographer, Jamie harbored a secret dream that he had never dared to share with anyone. He wanted to dance with Michael Jackson himself. The opportunity presented itself when the Dangerous Tour was announced with a Detroit stop. Jamie didn't just buy a ticket, he formulated what he called Operation Moonwalk, an elaborate plan to somehow get Michael Jackson's attention during the concert and demonstrate his dancing abilities. He knew the odds were astronomical, but Jamie had grown up believing that extraordinary dreams required extraordinary efforts. For months before the concert, Jamie trained with an intensity that bordered on obsession. He perfected not just Michael's signature moves, but also created original choreography that he hoped would impress the master himself. He studied video footage of every Dangerous Tour show that had been bootlegged, noting the exact moments when Michael interacted with the audience and identifying potential opportunities for his plan. Jamie also did something that demonstrated his genuine understanding of Michael Jackson's artistry. He researched the deeper meaning behind the Dangerous album and its social commentary. This wasn't just about executing perfect dance moves. Jamie wanted to connect with Michael on the level of artistic expression and social consciousness that had always been at the heart of his work. The night of the concert, Jamie positioned himself in a carefully chosen seat, close enough to the stage to be visible, but in a section where the lighting would allow Michael to clearly see any demonstrations. He wore a custom-made red leather jacket that was inspired by Michael's Thriller outfit, but had enough unique elements to show creativity rather than simple copying. As the concert began and 20,000 fans erupted around him, Jamie felt a mixture of anticipation and terror. He had rehearsed his moments so many times that it had become muscle memory, but he also knew that he would have perhaps 30 seconds at most to capture the attention of the most famous entertainer in the world. The first hour of the show proceeded with Michael's typical flawless precision. Jamie found himself genuinely lost in the artistry of the performance, temporarily forgetting his own agenda as he witnessed the master at work. But during The Way You Make Me Feel, when Michael began his traditional walk through the audience on an extended stage platform, Jamie knew his moment was approaching. As Michael moved closer to his section, Jamie began what he later described as the most important dance of my life. Standing on his seat, he started performing a routine he had created specifically for this moment, a 2-minute piece that incorporated Michael's signature moves while showcasing his own unique style and technical abilities. The fans around Jamie initially thought he was just another excited audience member, but as his dancing became more sophisticated and technically impressive, a small crowd began to form around his seat. People started pointing and cheering, creating a localized commotion that began to draw attention from other sections of the arena. Jamie's routine included flawless moonwalks, perfect spins, and several moves that he had innovated himself. A combination that demonstrated both deep respect for Michael's legacy and genuine creative talent. But the most powerful moment came when Jamie seamlessly transitioned into a contemporary dance sequence that interpreted the social justice themes of Black or White and Heal the World through movement. It was this artistic interpretation, rather than mere technical mimicry, that finally caught Michael Jackson's attention. From his position on the extended stage, Michael noticed the unusual crowd formation in Jamie's section and followed their gaze to see a young man performing what was clearly professional-level choreography. Michael stopped his planned interaction with other audience members and stood transfixed, watching Jamie's performance with the focused attention he typically reserved for rehearsals and recording sessions. The surrounding crowd realized that Michael Jackson himself was watching their spontaneous performer, and their cheers reached a crescendo that drew even more attention from throughout the arena. When Jamie's routine concluded with a perfect freeze in Michael's iconic smooth criminal pose, the section erupted in applause. But all Jamie cared about was the reaction of the man on stage who had inspired his entire career. Michael Jackson was applauding too, with a smile that indicated genuine appreciation rather than polite acknowledgement. Then Michael did something that surprised everyone, including his own security team and production crew. He gestured for Jamie to come closer to the stage, pointing directly at him and motioning with his hands for Jamie to approach. The crowd began chanting, let him up," as security personnel looked confused about how to handle this unscripted situation. Jamie felt his heart racing as he realized that his impossible dream was about to become reality. But he also knew that the next few minutes would determine whether this moment became a beautiful memory or a crushing disappointment. Everything he had worked for, trained for, and dreamed about was about to be put to the ultimate test. Security guards were initially hesitant to allow Jamie Williams onto the stage platform, but Michael Jackson's insistent gesturing made his wishes clear. "Let him come up," Michael said into his headset microphone, speaking directly to his security team. "I want to see what this young man can do." The crowd's energy reached a fever pitch as Jamie made his way through the maze of people and equipment separating him from the stage. His legs felt like they were made of rubber, and he had to consciously remind himself to breathe as he approached the man who had been his inspiration and idol for over a decade. When Jamie finally stepped onto the extended stage platform, he found himself face to face with Michael Jackson in front of 20,000 witnesses. The arena's lights were blazing, the crowd was deafening, and the weight of the moment threatened to overwhelm him completely. But Michael's first words helped calm his nerves. "I saw you dancing out there. That was beautiful, man. What's your name?" Jamie managed to say, his voice barely audible over the crowd noise. Michael leaned closer and repeated the question into his microphone so the entire arena could hear. "What's your name, brother?" Jamie said louder, his voice now echoing throughout the palace. "Jamie Williams from Detroit," Michael announced, and the hometown crowd roared its approval. "Jamie, I watched you dance, and you've got serious skills. Tell me something, did you come here tonight hoping to dance with me?" The question hung in the air like a challenge and an invocation simultaneously. This was Jamie's moment of truth. He could play it safe, express his gratitude for the recognition, and return to his seat with an incredible story to tell for the rest of his life. Or he could take the biggest risk of his life and ask for what he had dreamt about since childhood. Jamie chose courage over safety. "Michael," he said, speaking directly into the microphone that Michael held toward him, "I've been dancing to your music since I was 8 years old. You taught me that dance isn't just about moving your body, it's about moving people's hearts. I've spent my life teaching kids in Detroit that they can be anything they want to be using your music and your message. So yeah, I came here tonight hoping for a miracle. I came here hoping you might dance with me." The crowd fell into a relative hush, waiting for Michael's response. Even the band members on stage stopped their ambient playing to hear what would happen next. This was uncharted territory. No major pop star had ever been put on the spot like this during a live performance. Michael studied Jamie's face for a long moment, and those who knew him well could see the wheels turning in his mind. He was evaluating not just Jamie's dancing ability, but his sincerity, his respect for the craft, and his genuine understanding of what dance meant as an art form. "You know what, Jamie," Michael finally said, his voice carrying throughout the arena via the sound system, "I think Detroit deserves to see what you can do. but I have one condition." Jamie nodded eagerly, prepared to agree to anything. "I don't want you to dance like me," Michael continued. "I want you to dance like you. Show me who Jamie Williams is when he moves to music. Can you do that?" It was the most unexpected and perfect challenge Michael could have issued. Instead of asking Jamie to prove his ability to imitate, he was asking him to demonstrate his artistry as an individual. This wasn't about copying Michael Jackson, it was about showing that Michael's influence had helped create something original and authentic. "I can do that," Jamie said with growing confidence. Michael gestured to his musical director and said, "Give us something smooth and soulful. Let's see what Jamie's got." The band began playing a slow, funky groove that provided the perfect backdrop for contemporary dance expression. As the music filled the arena, Jamie felt all his nervousness disappear. This was his element, his language, his way of communicating with the world. What happened next became